Good evening and welcome to our ordinary council meeting for tonight, the 20th of January 2025. I open up tonight's meeting on time of 7 p.m. and on behalf of the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners on the land in which we meet this evening, and I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Tonight's opening prayer will be conducted by Father Ty from our Catholic Church here in the city. If you'd like to stand, please. Father Ty.
Thank you. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, bless the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder. Bless our residents, visitors from many races and nations. Bless our workers and volunteers from many social backgrounds. Bless our business, industries in their many fields and enterprise. Bless our hospitals, schools, government departments working for the common good. Bless the councillors and the mayor with integrity and wisdom as they lead us. Bless them with discernment to make the big and small decisions that will build up Kalgoorlie-Boulder as a community where everyone has safety, dignity, and respect. Bless all the employees of the council with pride in their work, safety in their workplaces, and love in their homes. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father Ty. Thank you. Have a good evening. I'll now read the disclaimer for this evening's meeting. Please note this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on the Council's website in accordance with the City's public participation in Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on Council's website. All reasonable care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the public gallery, it is assumed your consent is given if your image is broadcast. The recommendations contained in this agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. The resolutions of Council should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the Council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Any members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of Council's decision. In attendance for our first ordinary council meeting for 2025, we have Deputy Mayor Della, we have Councillor Bodicar, Councillor Winner, Councillor Johnson, Councillor O'Donnell and Councillor Brownlee. We also have our CEO, Andrew Bryan, who's with us tonight, our Director of Engineering, Louis Camporelli, our Director of Corporate and Commercial, Cass Yeager, our Executive Manager of Finance, Zandra Kernock, our Governance Officer, Jamie Boys, our ICT Risk and Compliance Officer, Matthew Pearson, and our Head of Marketing here tonight, as well as Pia Timu, alongside our Manager of Development and Growth, Paul Lees. We have several visitors and two press with us this evening. We also have Councillor Turner, who's with us via phone. Councillors, may I have a procedural motion to approve Councillor Turner into this evening's meeting to attend tonight? Thank you, Councillor Bodicar. Seconded, Councillor O'Donnell. Any discussion, Councillor Bodicar? No. Councillor O'Donnell? No. Any dissent, councillors? No. Carried. Haven't done the numbers yet. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Carried 7-0. I was right the first time. Don't doubt yourself. We have an apology. Good evening to you, Councillor Turner.
Thank you.
We have an apology tonight from Councillor Viskovich, couldn't quite make the meeting due to some flight arrangements. We have apologies from directors, Director of Advocacy and Strategy, Mia Hicks, and Executive Manager of Governance and Risk Services, Francis Liston. There are no previous leave of absence approved. Mr CEO, there are no responses to previous public questions taken on notice. There is no public access request at 6.1 tonight. However, there are public questions this evening from Mick McKay of Boulder, who asks the following questions. Question 1, once again I'm asking Council, could you please shift the 2 rubbish bins away from the veranda posts of 248 Hannon Street, which face into St Barbara Square? This will then enable the restoration works to be done to the guttering and fascia and also the painting of the veranda posts. A response to that question this evening, City staff have been advised to move the 2 bin enclosures to allow these works to be undertaken. This is the first request that has been received in regard to upgrade works on the fascia and the guttering and the bin locations hindering any of the works. Mr Mackay has also advised that if these works are structural, he will require approvals in the first instance prior to completing works. Question 2. Will Council consider placing a 24-hour automatic toilet in St Barbara Square as something is needed for when the proposed Market Arcade toilets are closed? The response to that? There is no plan or budget allocated, nor is it highlighted in the long-term financial plan to have a 24-hour toilet installed in St Barbara Square. There are 2 24-hour toilet blocks located in the Kalgoorlie CBD, one on Wilson Street outside the Kalgoorlie Town Hall, which is 185 metres away from St Barbara Square, and on Porter Street, which is 460 metres away from St Barbara Square. Question 3. What is the cost to upgrade the Market Arcade new toilet facility and how many people are required to manage it, and what will be the opening hours and the costs associated with staffing and cleaning of the facility? The response to Mr Mackay's third question, the upgrade to the toilet facility has been tendered and is underway. The costs of this are $400,000. The number of people to manage the facility would be reflective of the opening hours, which are yet to be determined, as they will mirror the Kalgoorlie CBD trading hours of the opening. There has been $90,000 budgeted for staffing and management of the facility. They are the only questions that we have received for this evening. Councillors, we have 2 deputations tonight, and they have been approved in writing to myself to be conducted. Ilani Thorman from CLE Town Planning and Design has a deputation in relation to item 15.2.2, the proposed amendment to the local planning scheme number 2, lot 4565 Broadwood Street in Broadwood. Ms Thorman, if you'd like to come to the podium, please, and that microphone should be good, ready to go. Just get you to adjust the microphone. We had a tall person in there last time. And we'll just get you to turn it on. Yep, excellent, thank you. Go ahead.
Good.
You have 15 minutes.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening to Mayor Wilson, councillors and staff members, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on item 15.2.2 relating to the proposed local planning scheme amendment number 2 at lot 4564 Broadwood Street, Broadway. My name is Ilani Thorman and I'm Principal Planner at CLE Town Planning and Design, and I'm speaking on behalf of Omni Design, the proponent. Whilst we appreciate the efforts of the officer in reporting on this item and their time in discussions on the proposal, we're extremely disappointed by the officer recommendation against initiation of the amendment based on both the context, background and the merits of the proposal. The purpose of this deputation is to provide a summary of the background relevant to this amendment proposal, as well as to respond to those objections outlined in the officer's report, forming the basis for the recommendation to not proceed with the initiation of the amendment. This information is provided to encourage the Council to consider an alternate recommendation in support of initiation of the amendment, allowing for its further assessment and consideration via the scheme amendment process. As the Council would be aware, our client is also the proponent of a development application for workforce accommodation at the site, which is currently on hold until resolution of this amendment. This development application was lodged with the City in October 2023, following months of discussion. The proposal is for a high amenity facility for temporary workers' accommodation to accommodate 196 people in 50 transportable units, a communal kitchen, gym, pool and outdoor facilities, landscaping across the site and a consolidated car parking area. It should be emphasised that the lodged JDAP application will be subject to detailed consideration and assessment by the City and the JDAP. Our client commenced discussions with the City on this development proposal in April 2023, 6 months prior to lodgement. Ongoing discussions by phone, email and virtual meetings at which the City provided advice to our client regarding supporting information requirements and the process for an application of this nature resulted in a complete package lodged and accepted by the City. Our client followed the City's pre-lodgement advice closely and prepared all information accordingly. The advice provided at this time was based on the zoning permissibility under Local Planning Scheme 1, the active Local Planning Scheme at the time, and had regard for the draft Local Planning Scheme 2. Under both the active and the draft local planning scheme, the proposal could be considered and approved, subject to the standard assessment process and advertising. Our client during this process was made aware that the gazettal of the new local planning scheme was likely at the end of 23, and that within the draft local planning scheme there was still scope to consider an application of this nature based on the advertised council version. An application for workers' accommodation was subsequently lodged with the city on the 25th of October 23 and acknowledged by the city on the 26th, and the fee of approximately $26,000 was paid shortly after. The city's local planning scheme number 2 was gazetted on the 31st of October 23. The city advised our client shortly after gazettal of the new scheme and the proposal being no longer permitted on the subject site, given the site had been zoned mixed use. Discussions and agreement between the city and the JDAT resulted in an extension of time for the RAR through to 31st of January 25 to provide sufficient time for the preparation, lodgement and assessment of an amendment to the scheme to facilitate the consideration of the JDAT proposal for the subject site. Given that CLE was not involved in discussions at this time, contact has been made with the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage to understand the key considerations in its required modifications to Local Planning Scheme 2 to apply mixed zone use across the site and its surrounds. Based on these discussions, it's understood that the application of a mixed-use zone was one of a suite of modifications requested by the department as part of its assessment of the city's draft planning scheme. The basis for this was that the area contained a range of land uses, and the flexibility of this zoning became a preference in order to keep the status quo and avoid non-conforming land uses. Importantly, and as advised by the department, the application of the mixed-use zone over the subject site was in no way intended to prohibit a proposal for workers' accommodation. The department has advised that it was in fact an unintended consequence that resulted in the lodged proposal becoming an ex-use. The department advised that it was not made aware by the city of this proposal prior to gazettal of the scheme, nor any potential permissibility issue caused by the application of a mixed-use zone. In fact, had it known, there would have been scope to address the matter via application of an additional use right or other scheme mechanism to ensure that the use remained discretionary, subject to further assessment. Following gazettal, at the time that the department became aware of the matter, we understand discussions were undertaken with the city as to options moving forward to resolve the matter. We understand that the city's resourcing constraints at the time, due to the city's resource constraints at the time, the department offered to prepare a report in support of an amendment for an additional use right for the subject site. We understand the department commenced preparation of a draft amendment report supporting initiation of the amendment to the scheme for the additional use right for the subject site for use by the city, and included justification supporting the planning merit for the proposal from a strategic point of view. This included the site's excellent access to the Kalgoorlie Airport, the Kalgoorlie town site, major roads, mine sites and reticulated services, the subject site representing the largest single land holding within the Broadwood locality, the site being entirely bound by composite lots with light industry, with residences on abutting lots set back 30 metres or more, the site being located within a historical light industrial area and located directly opposite land zone general industry under LPS 2, the proposal having no perceived impact on the residential streetscape values for surrounding properties on O'Brien Crescent, and a negligible impact on increased traffic on the street. We understand that the city chose not to progress this amendment and advised our client that it would need to progress an amendment independently. CLE was then appointed at this time and an amendment report was prepared and lodged in March 24. The amendment report is a comprehensive document that provides details around the merits of the proposal, and I trust the council has reviewed this document and therefore will not describe all the detail contained. I would instead like to use the remainder of the deputation to provide some comments to address the objections justifying the officer's recommendation to not support initiation of the amendment. Firstly, the officer stated the proposal would undermine the objectives of the mixed-use zone, which seeks to encourage the development of mix of varied but compatible land uses. Our response to that is the proposal would enable the assessment and ultimately a time-limited temporary approval for the use of the site for workforce accommodation land use. The temporary approval of this site for use provides a clear and sure opportunity for the future use of the site to be reconsidered by the city, at which time the Broadwood locality may have matured with other land uses becoming economically feasible. The functions of the land use are consistent with those identified as suitable within the mixed-use zone and are capable of approval within the mixed-use and capable of approval within the mixed-use zone, such as short-stay accommodation and aged care home. Secondly, the officer noted that the proposal would encourage a currently prohibited use for land use that is adequately provided for across several zones in the district. The current land use permissibility for workforce accommodation has been advised by the city as being an unintended consequence of an amendment to the scheme. This directly refutes the assertion that the land use was intentionally prohibited within the mixed-use zone. The officer stated that the proposal could undermine the zoning of the scheme so soon after gazettal of the new scheme. The time frame between lodgement of the application and the gazettal of the new scheme are, in our opinion, a primary supporting reason for the application. Again, we note that workforce accommodation has similar characteristics to other land uses that are permitted within the mixed-use zone. This proposal does not seek to undermine the zoning nor the new scheme. It simply looks to rectify what would be considered as an unintended consequence. The city's advertised draft scheme did not propose a mixed-use zone, meaning that if it had been accepted as proposed by the city, this amendment would not be required. The officers noted that the amendment will potentially allow an application to proceed for which the applicant has not demonstrated the site's specific circumstances that are unique to the proposal. The proposal seeks only to address an identified and agreed amendment to Local Planning Scheme 2, rectifying an unintended consequence of the mixed-use zone being applied to the subject site. The unique circumstances of the site and the timing of this development proposal being lodged with the city at the time the new local planning scheme was gazetted are the site-specific circumstances which are unique to this proposal. The officers noted that the amendment will potentially allow an application to proceed where it has not been demonstrated there is a direct connection between the proposed provision of workforce accommodation and the industry need duration of the development. The related JDAP DA and further additional advice provided to the city set out the ongoing discussion between the proponent and existing mining operators. We are confident that should the amendment be supported and initiated, that the city's local planning policy for workforce accommodation and the requirement for a needs assessment would be addressed further within the DA at the appropriate time. This proposal is supported by technical advice sought from Urbis by the proponent on housing and land supply within the city. Urbis summarised that the lack of available accommodation and limited supply of land for development, coupled with increased investment in major projects within the city, will mean that the demand for workforce accommodation is likely to continue into the medium to long term. Finally, the officers noted that the proposal does not represent an orderly and properly planning outcome for the area. The intent of this application is to amend the planning framework in place to facilitate the ability of the decision maker to exercise orderly and proper planning in its assessment of a development application. The decision to initiate the scheme amendment is therefore consistent with the principles of proper and orderly planning, providing the opportunity for the application to be considered by a suitable planning instrument against the relevant planning framework, development requirements and standards. In summary, we strongly encourage the Council to consider an alternate recommendation for initiation of the amendment proposal, allowing for it to progress in its assessment further as part of the scheme amendment process, including advertising. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you on this application. We welcome any questions on the proposal. I might introduce Wing Lam, who's from Omni Designs, and if you have any questions, we're both happy to take any.
Good evening, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. I've also got Wing down to make a deputation. Mr. Lamb, will you be making a deputation as well, or is there just the one this evening?
I think once he heard mine, he decided I'd covered it.
Okay, no worries. So there's just the one. Councillor, is there any questions for Ms. Thorman? Or for Mr. Lamb? No? Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
presentation tonight
Thanks very
and
much.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you very much.
Item 8, notations of interest this evening. There is one notation of interest received from myself. I have an impartiality interest in item 15.25. That is the 2025 Red Dust Revival sponsorship. I've volunteered with variety events across the course of the last 12 months. Councillors, any other impartialities this evening? No. A financial interest tonight has been declared by the CEO in relation to item 14.11, the CEO KPI review, because the item is in relation to his employment. Any other financial interests tonight, councillors, staff? No, thank you. Noting those two interests for this evening. There are no proximity interests. We have 3 applications for leave of absence. We have an application from the Deputy Mayor, Kirsty Della, to request leave from the 12th of May to the 22nd of June 2025. We have an application from Councillor Bodica from the 7th of May to the 30th of June 2025 for work, business and conference, and an application from Councillor Nadia Turner for the request of leave of absence from the 12th of May to the 20th of June 2025. Do I have a mover to accept those 3 leave of absence? Yes, you can, Councillor Winner. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through the Mayor, through to the CEO. Can the CEO please advise if there's any other leave requests during that time to ensure that quorum is maintained?
Mr. CEO.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor, at this point in time, I don't believe there's any others in there. I'd have to double check that, but I think at this point in time, those 3 are fine.
Good point, Councillor Winner, hence why we've got them all tonight to show. And it's also noted in our calendars now as well that if you are looking for leave of absence after tonight, if it is approved in a few minutes, they'll be entered in. So once we reach that point, there may be leave of absence. It's always been the case that councillors always approve leave of absence, but there might be the time where there might not be the leave of absence moving forward, and it's a great point you raised, Councillor Winner. Do I have a mover for that, first of all, now? Thank you, Councillor Winner, on that. Seconder, Councillor Johnson. Any discussion, Councillor Winner? Covered off. Councillor Johnson, no discussion. No dissent, councillors? Carried 8-0. Enjoy your holidays. We have a procedural motion to suspend Section 9.1 of our Standing Orders Local Law for 2013, which requires members of council to rise to speak be suspended. Councillors, you wish to sit down during tonight's meeting? Do I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor, very keen to sit down. Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Bodica. Any dissent, councillors? Let's sit down and enjoy tonight's meeting. 8-0. It is the vote. Sorry, Councillor O'Donnell, can you just be a sport for us, please, and just turn around and turn the lectern off, the lectern mic? Thank you. No, you're not in trouble? Councillors, the announcements by the person presiding without discussion all covered off from the 17th of December through to the 20th of January. It's been a busy time. There's been a lot going on there. Any questions on those, councillors? No, happy to take those afterwards as well if anything pops up. Item 11, confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting held on the 16th of December, that they be confirmed as a true record of that meeting. Councillors, do I have a mover for that particular motion? Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Anything you wish to raise, Councillor O'Donnell? No. Deputy Mayor? No. No dissent, councillors? No. Carried 8-0. Item 12, motions of which previous notice has been given. I believe there are nil, Mr. CEO. Councillors, there is an urgent business which is approved by the person presiding or by decision. Councillors, we were circulated today a resolution on Boulder roadworks. A councillor resolution was provided. Councillor Winner, you've indicated an amendment to that particular motion. Would you like to move your particular motion first of all? I don't have a mover for the officer recommendation, do I? No for the officer. We have an amended motion. Councillor Winner, if you'd like to state that first, and then on receipt of that we can get a mover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You can move it, so just state it, sorry.
Thank you. So the amended proposed motion is that council note the disruptions caused through the Burt Street upgrades and request the CEO to provide a report to council on opportunities to to improve both processes and communications for future projects, and on the decision-making process taken to reach said decision. Number 2, request the CEO develop a program to assist businesses which are disrupted through construction projects being undertaken by the city in future. And 3, request that the CEO arrange a meeting with affected businesses to work through options to support them into the future.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor O'Donnell, Councillor Winner, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm proposing this amendment to this motion tonight as I feel it's important that we as elected members are across how and what decision-making process we use to land at this decision by officers and how the community impact is factored into this decision-making process. This is critical in ensuring that mechanisms can be developed and put into place to ensure community impacts are minimised and considered, and so that councillors can be confident that they are being considered when decisions that they are considered when decisions are being made or changed, and to give confidence to a community that feedback and reflection are being undertaken to continuously improve our processes moving forward. While I trust that the decisions were made by staff with the best intentions, I need to be clear on how and what factors were considered to land at where we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak?
Just quickly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Winner in this, and hopefully going forward that we will no longer having any curbing, paving or roadworks done in the business sector at our peak time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? You want to speak for, Councillor Boddicka? You can ask a point. You can ask a question. I'll consider your question, Councillor Boddicka. Go ahead.
My question is, in terms of what was happening out in, the roadworks and that out in Boulder, in Burt Street, was there a lot of community consultation with the people that were affected as businesses, and what sort of feedback did we get back from them at the time?
There was consultation done. There was feedback provided. The Deputy Mayor and I spent a small amount of time in Burt Street talking to business owners. It was pretty clear, talking to 2 or 3, what was part of that one. Having that intel on board, we brought that information back to the staff. And then we've obviously had some correspondence in the last couple of days as well. And across the course of the weekend, I asked the CEO to draft up this motion, which you've got presented to you tonight and amended by Councillor Winner, to capture all of that.
Thank you. And I really agree with Councillor Winner's...
So you're speaking for the motion now?
Yep.
Thank you.
do.
Speaker for.
I think it's well worth it.
Thank you, Councillor Boddicka. Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, I think I've answered how we came about to this. Obviously, we are a council that does take on board from time to time matters that we might not get right, but we do want to make a way forward to ensure that future councils and future projects, whether they be the Boulder CBD, whether they be the Kalgoorlie CBD, whether they be West Cal, whether they be other areas within our community, we don't have the framework in place at this point in time to be able to provide that support more fluidly to our businesses, and it's something that we've taken on board quite considerably. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank councillors who've spoken in support of this amended motion, and I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and CEO in particular for bringing this motion to Council. I'm literally only making a tweak to an existing motion just to ensure that full understanding is understood moving forward, and that we can review processes to ensure that community impact can be considered and an understanding of how that impact is made. So again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing our continuous improvement, particularly in this space, moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. No dissent to that, councillors? Carried 8-0. There won't be a report of committees on block because we do have the CEO, nice. The CEO who has his KPI review and he's declared a financial interest. Mr. CEO, if you'd like to depart the room for us, please. Thank you. Noting the CEO has departed at 7:29. I'm having an absolute Barry shocker. Can I have a mover for the officer recommendation, please? Deputy Mayor, moving. Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Winner. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Deputy Mayor? Oh, Councillor Winner wish to speak. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? No debate. No dissent, councillors. Carried 8-0. May we have the CEO back, please? The CEO returning at 7:30 p.m. Councillors, 14.1.2, which was also a report of committees, is the Local Government Act Reform Consultation on CEO KPIs and online registers. The officer committee recommendation is there. Councillors, do I have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Seconder? Councillor Winner? Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? Councillor Winner, you wish to speak? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll keep this one brief. I just want to highlight that by the City recommending the Council endorse the CEO to make no comment in relation to the proposed amendments, it's that we're in agreement with those that are being proposed, and we feel that in line with the direction that we were already looking to proceed with our CEO KPIs and online registers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Mover has the right of reply. Not taken. No dissent, councillors. Carried 8-0. Councillors, our en bloc tonight is not a large en bloc. Within the en bloc motion this evening, we have 15.1.1, which is the Statement of Financial Activity for November 2024. 15.1.2, the accounts payable for December 2024. 15.2.1, which is the Home Business Recovery and Fitness Centre, 14A Salisbury Road, South Kalgoorlie. 15.4.1, the award of tender T002-2425 Usher Park and Oasis Sporting Lights upgrade. 15.4.2, the City RFT 019-2223 City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder Administration Building Air Conditioner Replacement. They will be the en bloc at this stage. Councillors, was there any discussion on those items that you wanted to amend? No. So just to repeat, 15.1.1, Statement of Financial Activity November 2024. 15.1.2, the accounts payable for December 2024. 15.2.1, Home Business Recovery and Fitness Centre, 14A Salisbury Road, South Kalgoorlie. 15.4.1, the award of tender T002-2425 Usher Park and Oasis Field Sporting Lighting Upgrade. And 15.4.2, the RFT 019-2324 City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder Administration Building Air Conditioning Replacement. Do I have a mover for that en bloc? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconder? Councillor Brownlee? Excellent. Any dissent, councillors? No. Carried 8-0. That those items are all carried unanimous. All right. Councillors, 15.2.2, that takes us to proposed amendment to Local Planning Scheme number 2, Lot 4565 Broadwood Street, Broadwood. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Councillor O'Donnell moving the officer recommendation. Councillors, do I have a seconder? Councillor Brownlee. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to go ahead?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A point of clarification. We've got the officer's recommendations, and then this evening we've been given a briefing. I'd be keen to put this on the table to come back. This is me personally. There was a lot said without the information in front of me really to read through and go over what was given.
Thank you, councillor. So you're moving the motion, but proposing an amendment. So therefore,
Yes.
you're proposing. So, okay, so we're looking now at a procedural motion to have that lay on the table for the next meeting, or to a time to be decided. Would that be your outcome?
Yes, it is, with hopefully the 6 officer recommendations that why they've said no against what they've said.
That's
Yes.
fine, I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're moving a procedural motion at the same time. Mr. CEO, I'm probably picking that up. It's not a procedural? Okay, no worries. So you can't do that as the mover.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of the information that's Councillor Donald's raised, I would be much more comfortable to ensure that my fellow councillors are across the information, which they may not have, and we did have a number of new pieces of information presented tonight, so I'd like to propose a procedural motion that this matter is laid on the table until the next OCM.
Would you like anything in that procedural to have further information before that? Or would you be comfortable, because that would come to an agenda briefing, which you could ask questions at then. So I'm just asking after some clarity if you wanted a timeline on it or not.
I'm okay with it coming to an agenda briefing for questions.
Okay, so
I think
through that.
it's probably more appropriate to allow it to be open to the public where those questions were going and the concerns that councillors may have raised at the time.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Winner. Do I have a seconder to that? Councillor Johnson, I'll take, because Councillor Winner, Councillor O'Donnell, you've already got one, and Councillor Brownlee, you've already got there. So Councillor Johnson, you're seconding that. Councillor Winner, you've stated that particular procedural motion. Mr. CEO, we got that captured as a procedural this evening, that the matter will return to the next ordinary council meeting. Thank you, Councillor Winner. And with that, we do call for a vote on the procedural motion. Those in favour, please raise your hands or say yay via the phone in regards to the procedural motion that's been put by Councillor Winner. Those in favour?
I'm Glenn. Mr. Mayor, I'm voting against that procedural motion.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. Noted. The procedural motion is carried. 7-1. Item 15.2.3 is the road naming lot 500 Anzac Drive, Yulkari. Now, councillors, you'll note the officer recommendation is here tonight. There is also a ballot to be planned in regards to this. How we'll play that out this evening is that we'll run a procedural motion after we get a potential mover and seconder. That procedural motion will be to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes so the ballot can take place, and then we'll pick up the meeting afterwards. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Winner. Seconder, Councillor Brownlee. Councillor Winner, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be moving this item tonight as I feel that there's been considerable amount of discussion around the table and from city officers providing information to get to this point. I think previously we did a ballot to allow us to reach the recommendation of endorsing old mining leases. And with that in mind, given the democratic process that was involved, despite where I may have felt I would have liked it to go, I'm more than comfortable to support and move this motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. And the seconder, would you wish to speak to that before we move for an adjournment? No? No worries. May I move now on procedural motion that we have a mover and a seconder for 15.2.3, that the procedure will be that Council, in accordance with Standing Order Clause 12.32, that the debate for this will commence in 10 minutes. So we adjourn the item for 10 minutes, resuming our ordinary council meeting at 7:49 p.m. on the 20th of January at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall. Do I have a mover for that? I don't think you can do your same one, Councillor Winner, sorry. Councillor Johnson, thank you. Seconder? Deputy Mayor, any dissent? No? Councillors will adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes for the debate, for the ballot to be conducted. I'll reconvene the meeting after our 10-minute adjournment, as stated, for a restart at 7:49 here at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall on Monday, the 20th of January. Councillors have considered a ballot for the completion of the officer recommendation on on 523 road naming lot 500 Anzac Drive, Yilkari. Councillor Winner, your motion looks as follows. Item 1, endorse old mining leases as the theme for the current road names in the subdivision. Point 2, endorse the following road names in accordance with section 26A(3) of the Land Administration Act of 1997 on the proposed road naming plan in order of preference as conducted by a ballot with council in the short downtime. A, road number 1 is Signet Drive. Road number 2 is Monarch Entrance. Road number 3, Eclipse Road. Road number 4, Ironsides Way. And road number 5 is Marvel Road. The alternative names for the reserve list in order of preference at item 6 is Kalgoorlie. At 7 is Pheasant. At 8 is Mendindai. At 9 is Comstock. At 10 is Acrobat. At 11 is Boko. At 12 is Oratava. And at 13 is Auckland. There you are. That completes your motion, Councillor Winner. We have started a debate on that. Is there a speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? The mover has the right of reply. Now you have all of the information. No, not taken. Thank you, Councillor Winner. No dissent for that, councillors. Carried 8-0. Item 15.2.4, the final adoption of the local planning policy for the alfresco dining. We have an officer recommendation, councillors. Do I have a mover of the officer recommendation? Councillor Winner. Seconder. Councillor O'Donnell. Go ahead, Councillor Winner, if you wish to speak.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm speaking in favour of this motion this evening, as I do, I cannot help but express my excitement at what opportunities this policy and future works will present for our community. This policy will allow the opportunity for even greater levels of inclusion and access for all members of our community through the development of our fresco dining spaces that are designed to be accessible by all members of our community, particularly those with disability. This would mean that people who could not previously access cafes or restaurants due to mobility barriers or steps or the size of the doorways would now be able to enjoy the same quality of life as other members of our community do in their favourite cafes or restaurants if they were to add alfresco dining options. I look forward to seeing what this motion unlocks for our community moving forward and encourage those who can to seriously consider what alfresco dining could do for their business as well as for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Councillor O'Donnell. No. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply, noting that we did the mandatory advertising, but we also did discretionary advertising in both the West Australian and the Kalgoorlie Miner, and we also conducted written notices to the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the owners of the Star and Garter Hotel and the Exchange Hotel as well. Just want to note that for tonight, with no submissions to this particular policy. Councillor Winner? No. Councillors, no dissent to accepting the policy? Carried 8-0. Just confirming, Councillor Turner, you're still there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. 15.2.5, 2025 Red Dust Revival Sponsorship. I have declared an impartiality interest in this one due to volunteering with Variety in the last 12 months. I believe we have an alternative recommendation here. Councillor Winner.
Mr Mayor, I'm actually going to withdraw that alternative recommendation at this point in time after some additional information.
Thank you. Officer recommendation, therefore, is presented. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Yeah, point of information, Councillor Johnson, go ahead. Can you use a microphone, please? So those at home are not struggling to hear. With your microphone that's not working, stand by. Matt from IT will be with you in just a few moments. Here's one he's prepared earlier. Go ahead.
Just quick. Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a point of information. Under our sponsorship policy, can I ask the officers exactly how this policy or this application fits our policy, especially in relation to point 6 of the criteria for assessment.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Mr CEO, do you wish to take that?
Through Mr Mayor, I might just ask the manager if he can provide some comment first, and then I'll follow on.
Manager of Development and Growth, Mr Lees, if you'd like to make your way to answer the question from the councillors, thank you. Or Councillor Orr.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I haven't got the policy with me, but maybe the councillor can provide that point for clarity, please.
Thanks, Mr Lees. I think Deputy Mayor's just bring it to your attention.
Yes, number 2.6.
For clarity, so is the question around the fact that Variety WA has received other money from council?
Councillor Johnson, you wish to...
My query is that Variety WA are going to be offering this sponsorship to Children's Charity, which is a recipient of funding from council, financial assistance from council. So how does that fit in there?
So, Councillor Johnson, the answer to your question is Variety, any funds that Variety make on the event, they will donate to the Goldfields Children Charity. That's what's happening there?
Yeah, that's what's happening there, but Goldfields Children's Charity is already a recipient of funds from the city.
Yes, however, the applicant is not the Goldfields Children Charity, it's Variety WA.
The sponsorship program will not be supported. Organisations raising funds on behalf of another group, which is in itself a recipient of financial assistance from council or federal or state government fund initiative. I just want to see that. I just want to know the clarity around that, how this actually sits, or doesn't it?
Sure. Mr CEO, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think when this application was originally received by council, I'm not sure that the Children's Charity had received the approval. This application has been around for some time. We probably need to actually go back and have a review of that, and just double check on compliance with it. In that circumstance, if there was a conflict with the policy, it's still a council decision whether or not you wish to comply with it. Council can go against their own policy if they so deem appropriate to support this application. But I'd need to go back and check the timeframes around the two applications.
Councillor Johnson, anything else? No? No worries. Thank you.
Answer the question.
Now, do we have a mover and a seconder? I must go back. No, we don't have a mover. So there is no mover for this item. Councillors, do we have a mover? With no mover, Councillor O'Donnell, thank you. Councillor Brownlee. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? Councillor Brownlee, you wish to speak? Speak against the motion. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. While initially I had an alternative motion, and I really do want to support this item as I feel there is enormous opportunity for the region. However, it simply is not compliant with our sponsorship criteria and guidelines. Under the city sponsorship guidelines for sponsorship applications, this does not fit within a number of areas, including under item 1.6, which states the sponsorship program will not support organisations raising funds on behalf of another group, which in itself is a recipient of financial assistance from council or is a federal state government funded initiative. To accept this proposal at this point in time, council would be in breach of its own policies and guidelines. I'd like the city to explore other opportunities to support this event in partnership with the applicant to the same value in another way, which is in line with council policies and guidelines, and in doing so, also explore the opportunity for a much more significant and appropriate sponsorship recognition agreement being reached between the applicant and the city's officers, in line with some of our other events that we also provide sponsorship to. Thank you.
Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Johnson?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, again, the charities that are here are very worthy. The charities that are here, the Red Dust and the Children's Charity, are exceptionally great charities for us to have on board. However, it is against our policy, and I think that maybe this needs to be reconsidered and brought back to another meeting once we've got some more clarity around this.
Are you proposing a procedural motion, Councillor Winner? Sorry, Councillor Johnson. You're proposing a procedural? Thank you. And your procedure would be to?
Would be to lay this on the table and bring it back to the next.
So the
council.
debate,
Can we do that?
item be adjourned
Adjourned.
to the next ordinary council meeting. Sorry, can you just turn your mic on just to clarify that for the minutes?
Yeah, ordinary council meeting.
Thank you. So that is the procedural motion that is being moved by Councillor Johnson. Thank you. I need a seconder to initiate that. Noting that O'Donnell moved and seconded by Councillor Brownlee, and Councillor Winner has spoken against. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Johnson? Deputy Mayor. Councillor Johnson, I'm pretty sure you've identified why you want to conduct your procedural, so that's fine. Deputy Mayor, you don't get to speak for that, unfortunately, with the procedural. It's only the mover. Do I have those in favour of Councillor Johnson's... Just before I put the vote, Mr CEO, are we dependent on timelines here for this particular approval tonight?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't think so. I think we've still got some time to actually do this and bring this back to the next ordinary.
Thank you. Those in favour of Councillor Johnson's procedural motion tonight, please raise your hands or yay. Those against? Sorry, Councillor Turner, do you wish to support?
Yeah, no, I'm supportive of it. I'll only let you know if I'm against it.
Okay, thank you. You're supportive of Councillor Johnson's procedural. Thank you, Councillor Johnson. We'll note also for the minutes tonight as well, seeing that the item will come back, is that Councillor O'Donnell moved the motion, Councillor Brownlee seconded the motion, and Councillor Winner has spoken against the motion. So when the item comes back, Councillor Winner won't be able to speak to the item, just for clarity purposes. 15.2.6, community bus updates. I have an officer recommendation, councillors. Mover of the officer recommendation. Councillor O'Donnell, seconder. Councillor Brownlee. Councillor O'Donnell, you wish to speak? Councillor Brownlee, you wish to speak? No. Speaker against the motion. Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll also be offering a foreshadowed motion as well.
Thank you. Speaking against with a foreshadowed. Go ahead with your speaking against.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, I cannot support this motion at this point in time, as I believe the city should be looking at options around community transport, including a bus, either as a direct purchasing option or in a partnership with a local provider to allow for greater access and inclusion for our residents. I note the officer's report outlines there are registered disability providers who can provide transport options for their clients. However, it is important to note that not everyone with a disability is linked to a registered provider, and these transport options are only available within funded hours, which varies from plan to plan. Given the city has been successful in receiving accessibility and inclusion awards in recent years, I think we should be continuing to explore ways to continue to expand on this and ensure that we're investing in improving the livability of our residents. This includes access. Transport options in Kalgoorlie-Boulder are challenging, limited, and at times expensive when stacked against other cost of living pressures, and I would see this as a possible investment as becoming more and more important as those pressures are increasing. As reported in the media, Beam are withdrawing, which will also reduce transportation options for users and youth in our community. I strongly believe that our vulnerable members in our community, in particular the aged, disabled and youth sectors, need all the help they can get, and I'd hate to be caught behind the ball on something like this in the near future. I would like to see an amount allocated within the mid-year budget in case once further exploration is taken and an option is possibly found, that it can be acted upon without significant delays. As such, I will be foreshadowing a motion and proposing a mid-year budget line item addition if this motion is not successful.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Can I please get you to state your foreshadowed motion for councillors?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the foreshadowed motion is that Council 1, receive this report. 2, allocate $100,000 for a community bus project in the mid-year budget review. 3, advocate for increased support through the My Aged Care program for additional support services in Kalgoorlie-Boulder. And 4, request the CEO undertake the next review of community transport needs to determine the future requirements for a city-led transport services by 30th of June 2025, with an additional review in 2026 to align with the next major review of the city's age-friendly strategy, with outcomes presented to Council by May 2026.
Thank you, Councillor Winner, for that. Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor O'Donnell, you've already asked the question. You've already put the motion. You are the mover of the motion. Thank you. Councillor Turner, you're via phone.
Excuse me, I just, with Councillor Winner's foreshadowed motion, I just have a question or an amendment. Should we have a budgeted amount in there for the mid-year budget, given that none of us are quantity surveyors or 10 quotas? Like I would rather that the officers came back to us with an amount that might be suitable to put in there. I'm just worried about putting $100,000 as an amount in there because I don't want officers working to an amount. I want them to work to a need.
Matt, can we get another microphone for Councillor Turner, please? Sorry. Sorry, Councillor Turner, I just had to use my microphone there. Your question is if the mover would like to adjust the point 2 on, thank you, on the allocated budget on the foreshadowed motion. We're not debating the foreshadowed motion at this point in time. So that might be a question for the foreshadowed motion when that does pop up, Councillor Turner.
Okay,
yeah. Speaker against the motion? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? We're voting, councillors, on the officer recommendation as moved by Councillor O'Donnell and seconded by Councillor Brownlee. Those in favour of the officer recommendation as presented, noting that there is a foreshadowed motion, councillors, those in favour of the officer recommendation, please raise your hands. That is 4. Those against?
I'm against.
That is 4. We have a simple voting recommendation this evening, and I will support my own recommendation. The vote is carried 5-4 with that casting vote. Thank you, councillors, making things tricky. Item 15.3.1 was not part of the en bloc. That is our roadwise program. We have an officer recommendation. Can I get support for that officer, or is there support for that officer recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Bodica. Noting, Councillor Bodica, you should also, it's 7 minutes past 8. You were due to leave at 8 p.m. You'll do this one. Thank you. Councillor Bodica moving the motion for the roadwise program. Speaker against? Seconder. Councillor Brownlee. Councillor Bodica, you wish to speak. Councillor Brownlee, you wish to speak. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Winner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I will speak briefly on this. I just would like to take the time to commend the officers' advocacy into this space in partnership with a number of community members to ensure that we can really bring to light some of these messages and really start accessing some of the critical materials we need in our community to keep our residents safe as well as the visitors to our community safe. And I look forward to future opportunities that's going to come from this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Before the mover has the right of reply, I note that there are 9 local governments within our area. There are only 8 road safety advisor positions, and we are currently on a wait list. That's okay, we'll work through that. Councillor Bodica, do you wish to use your...
I'll just say that it's got some really good information in it, quite comprehensive, really good, who put the report together, and whatever can highlight safety on our roads, I think, is something that's an essential, component of living in the bush like we do. So, it's really good.
Thank you, Councillor Bodica. No dissent, councillors, for that. Carried 8-0. Item 15.4.1, the lighting award tender was part of our en bloc. Item 15.4.2, the request for tender for the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder admin building was also en bloc. Item 15.4.3 is the tree pruning and tree maintenance, 0042.425. Do I have a mover for the officer recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Winner. Seconder, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak? Deputy Mayor, you wish to speak? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to thank the Director of Engineering for the report and his team, and the additional scope to allow public spaces and vegetation within the city to be pruned so that we don't have lopsided trees moving into the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Speaker against the motion? Speaker for? Speaker against? No debate, councillors, so no dissent. Carried 8-0. Item 15.4.4. Odor report. We have an amended motion from Councillor Winner, which may be on your screen right now. There we are, councillors. Councillor Winner, if you'd wish to state your amended motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The amended motion is that Council, 1, note the findings of the report by OPAM and request the CEO to work with the author of the report on an appropriate version for public release. 2, request the CEO ensure an appropriate public version of the report is available for public release by the March 2025 OCM. 3, request the CEO to liaise with other operators identified in the report to allow them to implement their own remedial strategies. And 4, request the CEO to develop and implement appropriate performance measures and assess, that red's a killer, assessment criteria for monitoring purposes, and to provide a further follow-up report once the IDEA plant is operational at the SBWWTP.
South Boulder Wastewater Treatment Plan. Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Winner. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Johnson. Councillor Winner, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I'm extremely happy to see a concrete report now work through in relation to the ongoing smell issues, I would like to propose this amendment to the current motion to ensure that the report is approved. The report in an approved capacity is made available to our community, given the high level of community interest in this matter. Our community has been dealing with this issue for years now, and I feel that we have invested significant funds into finding a solid answer, and our community deserves the right to have the access to as much information as possible in regards to this. I look forward to seeing significant work done in the immediate future to see our residents' quality of life improve with the removal of these intolerable smells and sound planning to ensure this does not occur again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. Second to Councillor Johnson. Microphone.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report is very comprehensive, and the report itself answers a lot of questions. I would also would be hoping that in the process of this, that this does come back to council in a confidential briefing, so we can get over all the facts and the figures in this as well. So that doesn't change anything on that motion, but it's just how we as councillors are better informed. And I do support wholeheartedly the IDEA plant and its operational when it becomes operational. And I think when we take this to some confidential meeting, we can have a chat about other bits and pieces around that plant.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From that report, you can clearly see that the South Boulder people who weren't university graduates knew where the smell was coming from, and it's been confirmed. However, it's as Councillor Johnson said, very comprehensive report, and hopefully then we as a council can act on those, and hopefully the other business will work with the city to ensure its compliance.
Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Speaking for, just noting speakers so far. Speaker against? Speaker for? Speaker against? Speaker for? Before the mover has the right of reply. This particular odour report is in response to community feedback from the City of Kalgoorlie-Boulder residents, but also the City as well being proactive and engaging an independent odour specialist to conduct this assessment. The report's been received and we acknowledge its findings. The report identified multiple contributing sources of the odour near each other, including the city's South Boulder wastewater treatment plant. There are other industries and businesses identified as contributors, and they have been provided with relevant sections of the report to guide their own actions in addressing the issue, or they will be. The City works closely with Department of Water and Environmental Regulation to investigate odour complaints and to ensure all City facilities meet regulatory requirements, including initial investigations, many of which conducted over a period of time, identifying multiple potential sources of odour, making it challenging to pinpoint a single cause in our community. While other contributors have been identified, the City is committed to addressing the issues within our own facilities with new insights and key operational improvements identified at the wastewater treatment plant. There are several proactive measures to improve the plant's performance and mitigate impacts on the community, and they've already been implemented. One of those includes improving management of our lagoons by adding lime during the colder months to enhance the pH levels and to reduce odour. The City has also been experimenting with mechanical aerations in the lagoons to improve dissolved oxygen levels, further enhancing treatment and reducing odour. Looking ahead, the City will replace its ageing IDEA plant as part of this and next year's financial years. The IDEA processing plant combines aeration and sediment in the same tank. The existing plant has been in operation for over 2 decades and is hindered by design limitations. The new plant is set to be operational within 12 months and will significantly enhance wastewater processing and reduce the potential for odour emissions. As Mayor, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all residents who have reported the odour and the concerns that they've given us within the community. They have participated in providing information to the independent odour specialist to assist with their findings, and the City acknowledges the impact odours have had on our residents, and we remain committed to taking actionable improvements while ensuring the continued reliability of wastewater processing. We know this is a concern for many residents, particularly close to the location of the facilities. However, rest assured, we have now got a report that we can hold these particular actions to account, and moving forward, as you've seen and heard tonight from our councillors, we are very committed to do so. Mover has the right of reply.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. First, I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for their words in regards to this. I recognise how important an issue this has been for our community for some time now, and it's fantastic that we're at a point where we do have information that we can proceed. We as a council, under the Mayor's direction, has worked very hard to improve our communication levels and a level of transparency that we have offered to our community. And I feel this is just another opportunity for council to further demonstrate this direction. None of us, including us around the table, want this smell. And this report will allow greater community understanding on the why and the path forward. This report is our line in the sand, and I look forward to exploring community-wide solutions to the many factors in industry practices which has gotten us to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Winner. No dissent to this particular item, councillors? No. Carried 8-0. Councillor Bodica, you have already informed us that you'll be departing the meeting. Thanks for staying until this point, noting your departure at 8:17 p.m. Councillors, we're up to questions of which due notice has been given, and there have been nil. We do have one confidential item to discuss. Councillors, can I have a motion, even better, can I have a motion to move behind closed doors to consider that? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor O'Donnell. Moved, Deputy Mayor. Seconded, Councillor O'Donnell. No dissent, councillors. No, carried 7-0. That we move into camera for items. Council considered one item in camera tonight, and we'll have further details on that in the not too distant future. It was supported unanimously by Council 7-0. Item 18, the date of the next meeting is the 17th of February 2025 here at the historic Kalgoorlie Town Hall. And with that, I'll close tonight's meeting at 8:22. Can I thank our staff and also councillors for your attendance this evening, and good evening to you.